So our next talk will be on food loss and waste. And we heard some of your insights before, but now we can go into a little bit more detail. And maybe just as a starting question, why did you start working on this topic? Because some might think that it's only, especially food waste, is a problem of, I don't know, countries like Germany or, but of course it's important also in your countries as we learned. So how did you start working on this topic?
Camila? Okay. So yeah, the first driver as to why the Philippines did this project is one of the economic drivers of the Philippines is tourism. So it's very easy for us to see that tourism as an economic driver, and it's also a huge provider of jobs. Majority of our labor force would be employed for the tourism sector. So while it is true that for developing countries like Asia, a majority of our food wastage would be for food loss, there is a projected increase by 2030 for Latin America and Asia to increase food waste by 2030. And we see that as food advances to its value chain, its value increases and its carbon footprint increases. So actually, the cost of prepared food that is wasted is much higher than the fresh ones. So that's our driving force. And in the Philippines, 52% of our municipal solid waste is biodegradable waste, and 86% of that is food waste alone. So those are the things that we considered, and we see that businesses in general have a stake for these kinds of issues on SCP. So it's a good way, and we banked on the novelty of the idea for the Philippines. We are the first one. I would really claim that we were the first one to talk about the environment for the HoReCa sector. And yeah, that's the driving force behind our work.
Thank you. And that gave me a lot to build on. Actually, I think, and it's just here in the moment, that I think the concept of sustain and food loss and waste is kind of how embrace sustainable consumption and production. You're addressing something that starts from the production, but it ends in the consumer. It has the supply chain approach. It has the necessity to be addressed for different stakeholders. But in this case, in Colombia, when we received the idea and the opportunity to work in the project, we were starting to develop our food system approach in the country. And it was something very interesting. Colombia actually signed as part of the goals of the SDG, and they have prioritized also SDG 12 and SDG 12.3, but we don't have information about food loss and waste. And this is critical to start to make changes in the country. So when we start to go deep in not having information, we decide definitely we need to start to create conscience. And if you see our work, we have different paths, and we have different opportunities to address food waste, and maybe I will name it later. We start to create conscious about it, to understand how Colombians understand the concept of food loss and food waste, to collect information about the problematics, and to see and identify the opportunity of this being a call to action, to involve and engage the consumers. So we also are working in more technical perspectives, if you can say that mobilization is not technical, so I'm not saying that at all. But we have worked with the retailers in terms of food waste. And I will answer your question about food loss. We have a lot of the drivers associated with food loss. We have bad infrastructure. We are not planning agriculture. We have, but we also are in the middle of the tropics. We have production the whole year. We have a lot of small and medium holders. And in Colombia, we still have, I think it's, even we don't have much information, what is calculate, it's the same amount. We are losing the same that we're wasting. So the opportunity to create a work there, it's huge, and we have a whole line related with. So, but we are also aware that Colombia has a really good bet also in SDG 2, and with nutrition and poverty is other of the priorities of the country. So the food banks and the food donation ecosystem, it's well developed in the country, and they do have some information. And when we start to talk to them and realize that only 3% of the food who can be rescued, it's being rescued in a country when we have hunger and we have poverty, that was amazing for us. It was unbelievable. So we decide, okay, we're not going to jump in there and start to use our force for the same thing that they're doing, and they're doing well. Why don't we try to contribute? So we add the layer of speaking about environment, speaking about the impact of the cost of the production, but we're also working with RAP, this is a UK NGO that works in food loss and food waste, and with the Éxito Group, that's a retailer, and try to avoid and understand with 2 pilots at the supermarket level. When the supermarket receive food and just before the consumer buys, what we can do. And we have 2 great pilots based in behavioral change that we can share with you later.
Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, you started to cover the second question for you too. So what part of the value chain did you find most promising to work on? So I understand that you work with retailers, you focus on this part, and you also mentioned that, of course, you work on the tourism sector, and mostly hotels and restaurants. Can you and resorts? So would be great if we can get a little more insights into where you started.
Okay. So for the project, the thrust, or basically if you talk about the sustainable diner, a lot of people would attribute us to food waste. That is their flagship. That is I think the flagship activity of the project. But actually in our budget, we didn't have a case study. We didn't have a budget for the case study on food waste. We did it in our team. And we found out that in the 4 months that we did the food waste measurement and separation, for 4 months, for 2 hotels, they average around 100,000 kilograms of food waste for 4 months. And when we saw the amount of food waste coming from the kitchen, from the production side, and the dining, it's not different at all. It's almost 50-50. So we saw that, okay, there are some gaps that needs to be filled on the production or preparation side. I don't want to use the term production because usually it's associated with the farm, or basically the production of food, preparation side of food, and also on the dining part. They are just the same. So there needs to be something to be done on educating our chefs, educating our hotel employees. And we saw also in that case study that 95% of the employees are very much willing to do food waste as an advocacy for their respective properties. And they even told us, good thing that you're addressing this, because every time we throw the food, it breaks our hearts. And well, for some, they wanted to bring it at home, but they cannot because it's a company policy, and it will be a form of abuse somehow if they are allowed to bring the food. In the same manner for the diners. So what we did was have some consumption cues to remind them that wasting food is not it's not cool. And for you to be responsible tourist, you have to be mindful of your resources. And we also had modifications on simple things like the containers of the food, especially on buffets, make it smaller so that people won't be so fixated on the idea that there's a lot of food. So those are the things that we saw. So in terms of value chain, I would say that the Horeca would still be a good starting point for the Philippines. And also, since we also had another project on composting, we also saw that educational institutions can be a good way to start, because while you are educating the young minds, you are also already collecting the food waste that is being incurred by the schools. So that is something that I also dream, apart from replicating and scaling up our current initiatives. We can explore. We have 60,000 schools in the Philippines and 14,000 colleges and universities. So just imagine if all of those will just collect their food waste and divert it away from the landfills. It would be a nice way to go.
Wow, it's same in Germany for our schools. That would be good. So let's hear from Colombia.
Yeah, no, we went, I think, all over the supply chain, actually. We start thinking to work with retailers in specific and a very kind of a pilot testing way with initial information, baseline analysis, behavioral change. And we are producing guidelines about it, and we're going to work with the retailers in that topic. But also in the survey, we identified the power that food waste has to engage consumers. So now in all the work with consumers, actually, our main topic, it's related with reduced food waste. We have 3 simple action. It's eat more local, diversified what you eat, and don't waste. It's our call to action, and it's very simple and has impact a lot of people. They are understanding what they can do to contribute beyond the concernings of the environmental crisis. But we also are working in education. We're also working with the Eureka sector. Actually, we do also have a gastronomy course that speaks about sustainability. And food loss and waste actually is involved in all the different approaches that we have for the gastronomy. And currently, we just finished the deep in and reducing food loss and waste. So we still are trying to figure out what to and how to address in terms of production and in the production side. But there's a lot of opportunities, and we think that also there, because normally in our countries when we speak about sustainable production, we're very focused in the way that we produce. But normally we forgot that there's a lot of opportunities in terms of reduce the level of loss. And that can be worked with the retailers as well in terms of the appearance of the fruits and vegetables, of the different products, the level, the local porch case. There's a lot of things that we can do that are related with food loss, but maybe we're not name it as working food loss. So I think that we decide to go in that direction, and we're gonna be there for the long term, because the level of opportunities that you have, and it's actually very refreshing as an NGO who works in conservation to be able to have more direct contact with the people in general, to invite them to take action, and it has been very positive.
Rewarding.
Rewarding.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
We're all in our second language here, so I think we can be kind to each other. So thank you so much. I mean, this is really interesting topic, and I think you covered a lot of aspects of this, waste and loss. And I wonder if there are any questions from our audience on this aspect. Martina.
You mentioned it already, but I'm really interested now. For both of you, the project is finalized, and what are the ongoing activities now beyond the IKI funding you got? And you mentioned already a little bit, but it would be really interesting to hear from us that the project doesn't stop now. Yeah, that would be nice to see how the journey is going on.
Okay. I think. So yeah, as I've mentioned a while ago, we still have an ongoing partnership with the Department of Tourism. This is involving our trainings and knowledge transfer for the tourism sector. So of course, we don't have already such funds to cover it. So the Department of Tourism will cover that for us, and we will be providing the trainings. Then, secondly, our innovation project, the Soilmate. The Soilmate project. I did not show it a while ago. It's collection and composting project that we did for Metro Manila. So we partnered with a social enterprise, and that social enterprise has been thriving thanks to WWF for the efforts, because we did an app for them. So starting from 5 subscribers, we are now at 200 subscribers, with 20 of that would be businesses. So quantification, we have it. The number of food waste that we collected, the compost that we've made, the methane that we avoided, the carbon equivalent that we've avoided, it's all in the app. You can see that. So I know it's not available here, but in the Philippines. But you can approach me and I will show you the Soilmate app if you want. So apart from that, a lot of invitations are still coming, Martina, regarding food waste. Out of the 3 associations that we have partnered, 2 of which are very much still active, talking to us and seeking guidance and direction for their sustainability efforts. So I would say that for the 4.5 years that we ended, 2023 is like the reaping of the fruits of our labor. 2022, not much, because they are still recovering. We understand that, and I think this is the best time for them to rebuild in a better and new normal. So we are grabbing that opportunity with or without the project. So whatever it is that we have, we share.
Yeah, for us, this topic and all the food system approach has been become as a programmatic part of the office. We include in our goals for 2030 specific tasks related with the topic. And also in the way that we have a partnership with different offices or different stakeholders, with including activities and seeking for have better impact. In the case of the specific, for example, for our campaign, everybody is wanting to join the campaign. So now we have, for example, the Food Banks Association in Colombia wants to jump in the campaign, and they are going to put resources and people to start to mobilize Colombians against food waste. So it's very, very positive. We also have some other partners like international NGOs like ECO, who is from Switzerland, that they also are moving in that direction, and they say, you have all the field ready, so we want to jump in that, and we want to create capacity. Also with the Consumer Goods Forum, we're speaking about to launch the guidelines for food loss and waste in the work that they're doing. And also in the partnerships that we have with other offices in WWF. And for example, we're gonna try, we're in the middle of to understanding if we can use and adapt the UK basket methodology, which includes food loss and waste as 2 of the metrics that we want to work with retailers. So I think it's the beginning of a lot of things, and we're looking for new proposals, new fundings, because food loss and waste, there's an issue, and there's not a specific line in cooperation dedicated to it. So we are being very creative to try to do it, but definitely something that it comes with a lot of good results.
There's also one you
Yeah.
can add, and then
Yeah. Just to add also, of course, our eco-labeling certification, Martina, it's there. It's up and running. It's a matter of promoting it again once the HoReCa sector is ready in the Philippines. Then, of course, our materials, as I've mentioned, we have a lot, and we have it here. They're all downloadable. You can use it. So I think one of the legacies that the project has would be these information that we have collected through the years, through the times that we have been doing the project. More importantly, the educational materials, the one that is covering primary up until colleges and universities. So yeah, that would be, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Well, first and foremost, I'm Mary Luck. I'm from the Philippines Embassy, and we're very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and
Thank you for coming.
thank you to WWF for this great project in the Philippines. I learned a lot, and I saw from Melody's presentation that WWF was able to pilot this project in three cities in the Philippines, and I hope that there's that possibility that you will be able to scale this all over the Philippines, and also, if not in the other regions, we can look into more specific segments, such as the universities and the schools, because I think we have a natural partner in universities. They would want to be helping with composting and teaching children how to live more sustainably and take care of the environment. I just also wanted to mention that I did a brief reading of the portion of the Philippines, and there is a memorandum of cooperation with the Department of Tourism. I would think that the Department of Natural and Environment Resources of the Philippines would also be very much interested in this project, because I hope when it becomes scaled up, you might wish to approach the Department of Environment and Natural Resources as well, because we do have a Solid Waste Management Act, and our ministry, our department, DENR, Department of Environment, is very serious about its efforts to be able to manage our waste well. And so the composting part and this project really, I think, is something that might really make an impact and will be very interesting for that department.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you for attending, for coming. So, DNR, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, is our strong partner. So, we have our works with them since time immemorial. They are really our strong partner. For the food sector, they are the lead for the NDC. So the revision of the NDC that included agriculture as one of the mitigation strategies for GHG. Then they're also okay. They're also leading the revision of the Philippine biodiversity strategies and action plans that included agriculture and urban rural and urban agriculture as one of the indicators for PBSAP. So, yes, ma'am, we are working with DNR. There has just been changes because the NDC is supposed to be for the Climate Change Commission, but now DNR is the one leading it. So, yes, we will continue to strengthen that relationship.
Thank you so much. Also, we have to finish here. I noticed that the 20 minutes is very short for this fireside talks because it's getting deeper, and then the questions are coming. So thank you so much. And you can stay with me, Melody.